All right, you guys, I'm back in the Mustang. I loved the new Mustang so much that I'm driving another one, except this time it's the EcoBoost. The EcoBoost has been around for a very long time at this point, about 10 years. It should be, because of its lack of price and efficiency, a very compelling entry-level sports car. On paper, it is the perfect entry point for a Mustang buyer to get into the brand, to become enthusiastic about the brand, to the point where maybe in the future they would upgrade to the V8. But it's not that simple. A few months ago, you guys may remember, I did drive an original Fox body Mustang Turbo GT, which was the first kind of production turbo 4-cylinder 2.3 liter turbocharged Mustang. It was the precursor to the modern EcoBoost, which of course came out, I believe, around 2015 in that previous S550 generation. So what's under the hood? Yeah, same 2.3 liter turbocharged inline 4, as has been in the car for a very long time. 315 horsepower, 350 pound-feet of torque. It's gone up about 5 horsepower in 10 years. So not a whole lot, but when compared to some of the competition, it still makes really good numbers. It's paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission. That is the only option with the EcoBoost. There's no manual option here. That's its first huge problem. Imagine selling an enthusiast vehicle, rear-wheel drive car, a sports car, a coupe, some would call it a GT car. You can call it whatever you want, but a car that looks like it's supposed to be fun to drive, and there's no manual option. Not only that, but you have to spec the performance pack to get paddle shifters to control the 10-speed. A 10-speed transmission, when tuned correctly, I've driven a few that have been, will shift in good points where you would expect it to shift. Now here I've put the car into sport mode. We have a few driving modes to choose from, but sport should, you know, give us a good combination of street comfortable driving characteristics and a sporty feel. You'd expect downshifts to come when you brake into a corner. They do, but they're a lot lower in the rev band than I would have expected. It is not a good pairing here, and paddle shifters, I would imagine, would solve that to a large extent. It would at least give me some control. There is no way to shift the EcoBoost Mustang manually without the performance pack. That's its most glaring issue. And if the transmission was smarter, maybe I would forgive that a little bit more, but it's not. The transmission is unfortunately inconsistent. It will hunt for gears. It is really a hands-off experience. That's not what I want in a Mustang. I don't know about you guys, even if I'm buying the 4-cylinder. Sometimes it's seamless when I'm just cruising, but other times, first to second gear, it'll kind of lurch a little bit and then almost take a second to decide if it even wants to go into third or fourth. It especially takes away from that engine, because the engine is not bad. The engine on its own is actually kind of decent. The car is quick. Maybe in track it'll give us some downshifts, some proper downshifts. No, and then mid-corner it downshifts when I want to hit the gas. See, if you were prepared and you were already in a lower gear, you wouldn't have that problem. It has to downshift, and then there's a little bit of a delay, of course, for the turbo to spool up. It's not huge, but it's not nothing. So there's another layer. Yeah, it still won't give us really good downshifts. What I'm looking for is under hard braking, it should be basically downshifting immediately to reach those higher revs so that when I get back on the throttle mid-corner, like I tried to back there, it will be there and ready. The Mustang EcoBoost is unfortunately not ready. Like it needs coffee, it needs caffeine, it needs something that it just doesn't have. So if you want paddle shifters here, if you want any kind of control with the EcoBoost, you have to spec the performance pack, which is a huge problem, but fear not, we will solve it at the end of the video, I promise. Let's do a quick 0 to 60 run here. We'll just mash it. Nothing. There we go. And it short shifts 1,000 RPM before redline. It short shifted before 6,000 RPM there. And I get it, peak torque with this engine is lower down, like it's a wide power band. Those elusive last 1,000 RPMs. Now, that kind of brings us to some of the redeeming qualities. This engine makes the car, the EcoBoost, 239 pounds lighter than the V8 model. So it is a little bit more tossable in the corners. It's less nose heavy, and we can feel that here. And we still have the 255s all the way around, square stance. It's comfortable in here. That's another great thing about the Mustang. There's tons of space, and it's comfortable. I'm driving the premium, so of course I do get the leather wrapped steering wheel. We get these, they're not leather, real leather, but they're not cloth, which the base model gets. And it's a really comfortable place to be. I would love to road trip this car. You do have back seats, kind of usable, and then the trunk is huge. Not only that, the car looks good. You still get Mustang looks. You still get the road presence. I mean, the tech is good. We've got a very high resolution backup camera. So what are some other reasons you would want to potentially buy an EcoBoost Mustang? One would be the efficiency, like I said up top. Now this gets an average of 10.2 liters per 100 kilometers or 26 miles per gallon. It's good, and it's quite a bit better than the Mustang GT. So if that's your prime focus, there you go. Of course, as well, price. It does cost quite a bit less than the equivalently spec'd Mustang GT. If you were to spec the premium package, which gives you, all the things I mentioned earlier, plus wireless charging, the active exhaust is also an extra option. There's also this kind of weird pulsating drone that I had no idea was there. I didn't notice until I was driving out here to this shoot, but because the 10-speed loves to be in the tallest gear possible, sometimes it'll sit around 1,400 RPM. Great for fuel economy, but it has a little bit of drone. Even if you just get on the throttle a little bit, it has this weird pulsating resonance drone. It does not sound good. It doesn't sound refined. And after getting a larger kind of picture of a feel of what the EcoBoost Mustang is and who it caters towards, it really just does cater towards the broad appeal of the Mustang's looks and kind of the perception of what driving a Mustang means versus the actual performance chops when you really get into it. Now, it is fast, it is chuckable, it's smooth. The steering, like I mentioned in the V8 review, is not, it doesn't provide the most amount of feel, but it is sharp. Funny enough, we just passed a brand new Supra and an Elantra N. I would much rather be driving both of those cars. Okay, so I promised I would solve the issue of the transmission. You want more control, okay? Base price for the EcoBoost here in Canada, $39,000 Canadian. As tested, behind me, $52,000 Canadian or $44,000 USD, okay? That's $1,000 more than a base GT 6-speed. You get way more power, you get the 6-speed transmission. Yes, you do not get any leather. You get cloth seats, you don't get even power seats. You don't get the wireless charger, you don't get the upgraded trim on the interior. You don't get a heated steering wheel and a bunch of other kind of comforts and amenities. But if you just want to drive the car, have the most control, there, I solved the issue. Not only that, the Civic Type R, speaking of competition, is the same price. We can look at the Nissan Z, which is, I believe, a couple $1,000s more, but you get a whole ton more power. And actually, as a side note, I looked at the 2-liter Supra, the 4-cylinder entry point to the Supra. It's $10,000 more than this. So on a side note, if we wanted to end on the up and up, it is that I actually realized how incredibly overpriced the Supra is. Even still, and that you also cannot get in a manual. You have to get the 6-cylinder. So that's my take, you guys. I would get the base model GT V8. It's just way more car for the money. And then of course, if you do have more, you can spec up the performance pack. But that car doesn't particularly require the performance pack if you just want something basic. Here though, with the 4-cylinder, because of the lack of paddle shifters and control over the transmission, I would not buy the EcoBoost if you were not getting the performance pack. That's my take. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up, really helps us out. We'll see you guys soon.